everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. It's number 69. So I thought I was going to be, really hardcore and do what so many streamers before me have and just be like fapping on stream and then pretend it was all an accident and just live with the humiliation of that having happened forever, which doesn't really seem to affect people that it's happened to, does it? Doesn't really ever affect them. It's happened to loads, hasn't it? People getting caught jerking off on stream or having sex with people on stream. Just happens, and people are just all right with it. I mean, we live in a time when the amazing atheist can have nudes leaked of him with a banana up his arse, and everyone's just like,
it is unreal how he walked that off, mate. Let's be real. That was the most baller shit I've ever seen. Straight Crip walked it off. He had a banana in him, mate.
Yeah, he did his next video eating a banana.
Going on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Don't even know if it was the same banana, but didn't care. And so I thought it would have been a nice way to open the show, but unfortunately, because I work on network television, decided against it. But maybe next time we have a run of shows that get to the 69th episode, we'll do it then. But yeah, there you go. These things happen, guys. Always remember to not be streaming. I get mad paranoid about it now. You've seen I've got my little anti-wanking thing. Got that here. I got obviously the mic gets unplugged and everything on a night in case someone starts recording my sound. So yeah, there's all that. So yeah, just be careful is what I'm saying. Now, I went on the front page of Reddit today, Sam, and there's something of interest to us on the front page. Because there's a joke there. And it's about Welsh people. Right. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there's a series of jokes about Welsh people. I've heard a lot of
sheep.
Most of them, yes. Most of them do. And indeed, this one isn't any different, Sam. There it is on the front page. It says the condom was first invented by a Welshman by using a sheep's intestine. And obviously, you click on the joke, and he goes, the English later improved it by removing the intestine from the sheep first. You see,
good one.
The good one got him. Got all of Wales. The implication there being for people who don't see the joke that the guy just put his dick in a sheep. And, that was a way, obviously your wife wouldn't get pregnant, would she? If your dick was in a sheep, it would be an effective contraceptive, wouldn't it?
It worked every time, didn't it?
Yeah. Think about it.
Only contraceptive with 100% success rate.
It's fucking a sheep, yeah. It's actually more effective than a condom. If every time you want to have sex with your wife, you just go have sex with a sheep.
Never get pregnant.
She will never get pregnant. Now, I don't know about its efficacy for stopping diseases. Can you get STDs off sheep, Sam?
Well, probably. I'd imagine you get straight foot and mouth or something, mate. Can't be good, can it?
Mate, I'm not getting the sheep to lick my toes. I don't work in town world, mate. How am I getting foot and mouth?
I don't know, mate. All those juices hitting each other can't be good. There's got to be some badness amongst it in there.
You're flattering yourself. What, you think the sheep will be turned on?
No, I just mean in general.
All those juices. Oh, just having a juice, is it? Come on, Sam, get it in, man.
It was an animal, mate.
Fucking woolly back cunt. Anyway, so look, what's the point of all of this? Why are you saying this, Richard?
Why are you saying this?
Yeah, why are you bringing all this up? I just want to bring up a point, right? Okay, that I think is interesting. There is actually a serious place I'm going to with this because I don't know if you know this, but obviously we exist in a time where a lot of stereotypes, when aimed at people based on race or nationality or gender or sexuality, it's not just considered bad form. It's not just considered inappropriate. It's actually considered hate speech. It's actually considered this thing called hate speech. Now, as somebody that's had to deal with the term sheep shagger getting, thrown at me for many years. I've never really thought about that. Never really thought about it at all. It was just a joke, woolly back, sheep shagger, oh, he's got his wellies on, because, the joke is you took a sheep's back legs into your Wellington boots so they can't run away. You've heard that one, obviously.
No, I haven't heard that.
Ever heard that one? I mean, there was lots. There was old school, you see. There was lots of jokes thrown around in the rugby club when I was a lad. There was that one, get your wellies on so the sheep can't escape. The other was, if you want to heighten how good sex with a sheep is, always fuck them against the cliff face, because then they push back.
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought you were going to say give it poppers or something. Put it in front of a sheep's nose if you wanted to be extra good.
I don't know. I don't know.
Keith Vaz.
I don't know what is wrong with your brain to think about giving the sheep poppers. Also, once again, mad arrogance on your part. Better loosen this sheep because the earthquake's coming.
Well, I ain't doing it, mate. Just a joke. Calm down.
All right. So anyway, I've had to put up with those jokes being aimed at me for a while. I'm sure you have as well. New Zealanders get it as well. They're considered sheep shaggers because we all know, famously, the population of sheep in New Zealand massively overwhelms that of people. So the thought process is you would turn to having sex with sheep. I don't know why. Surely it makes you more likely to pair off. People can be less choosy. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is.
Yeah,
but anyway, who knows? It's a joke. But this is where it gets interesting because, we exist in a time, don't we, where if I make a joke about a particular stereotype, it's no longer funny. And it's interesting, isn't it, when we say it's okay. Oh, calling Welsh people a sheep shagger, that's a bit of banter. I agree. It's a bit of banter. And if a French person called me le sheep shagger, I can call him a cheese-eating surrender monkey, can't I? I don't know about that anymore. But maybe. I don't know, mate.
Isn't that about eating the food?
Yeah, frog's legs.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? You made me thought it was something bad. I was like, oh shit, is that off the topic?
No, but I don't know though. But I mean, frog might actually be one of those derogatory terms now. It's hard to keep up, isn't it?
Yeah. Can't give me that title, man. I thought I just trembled he doesn't know about a war.
Well, maybe. Well, who knows? Who knows? Honestly, I mean, maybe you do have a right to be worried. But I mean, again, I grew up in a time where you'd hear jokes like, if the waiter was French, the person at the table would go, "Waiter, do you have frog's legs?" The waiter would say yes, and then the person would go, "Well, I'll hop off to the kitchen and get me a drink, you French cunt." And we'd all have a laugh. We'd all have a laugh about it. We'd all have a laugh, wouldn't we? But then somewhere along the line, there were certain nationalities where you couldn't mention stereotypes anymore, could you? You couldn't say that anymore. There are certain, negative stereotypes, which, apparently sheep shagging doesn't count, but acts of bestiality is still fair game. Calling somebody lazy seems to be very upsetting if you're a particular nationality. Now, this is interesting, you see, because what I didn't know, and there it is on Reddit, right? Reddit, this bastion of good think, this bastion of truth and social justice values. They've made a massive faux pas. The person who has posted that might not know this, and Reddit, in allowing it, might not know this, but they have actually allowed hate speech to reach the front page, which is against their rules. So you can see that the person forgot username often it could be in big trouble, and somebody could potentially bring legal action against this person. And you're going to say, Richard, you're out of your mind. Well, no, there was a court case. There was a court case in 2013. And I'm gonna just show you this. So this is the headline in the Telegraph: "Man fined for racism after Welsh sheep slurs." It was in 2000. A man who was fined for racism after he branded Welsh people sheep shaggers claims he was just using it for people living in the countryside. Now, this is Anthony Taff, appropriately named, because that's another derogatory term for Welsh people. Taffs, if you didn't know that. Taffs and Gogs if you're from North Wales. and taffs. You know, Welsh organised crime is called the taffia. Right? It's a joke. So Anthony Taff had to be restrained and sat on by an off-duty policeman and security staff at a holiday park in Wales after he was seen shouting and swearing while drunk at court in Llandudno. Heard. That's just standard practice when Welsh people go out drinking. Again, it's cultural. I can say that. But then he called the policeman and the staff a bunch of sheep shaggers. Right? So Taff's actually from Bolton, so he's not Welsh. So all of a sudden his cultural rights have been revoked. He's been a cunt, isn't he? And he had to admit that he used a racially aggravated phrase, and he was fined £150. It's a lot of money to someone from Bolton. £150 after he admitted racially aggravated disorderly behaviour. And this isn't the first of its kind. Scottish people have taken people to court successfully for being called jocks. Jocks is also now a protected term. Interestingly enough, actually, if you look at more details of this particular thing, it was quite interesting. It caused a stir, and there was lots of people at the time that English people mostly, that wanted to say that this was okay, that sheep shagging fell well, calling, I don't know, somebody of a different denomination, of a different race, calling them lazy was racist and a negative stereotype. Calling a Welsh person a sheep shagger was actually fine. David Mitchell, who I actually like, got a lot of time for, wrote a column in The Guardian about it. Over here, you can have a look. And he said, Welsh sheep shagger, I can hardly think of a less hurtful remark. And he said maybe next time we'll become wise enough to stop classifying the racist slur as the nuclear weapon of slights and realize it's only a pea shooter. And he's kind of right, isn't he? But unfortunately, we're now at a stage where we've all gone mad, haven't we? We've all gone quietly mad. And terms like sheep shagger, that's now hate speech. It is. And we've got the legal precedent to back it up. So if you're a Welsh person and you're on Reddit today, go to the front page, and I don't know, maybe make a note of where the thread is, and maybe put a complaint. Have you been offended? Have you been affected? Reddit has allowed hate speech on their front page, racially aggravated hate speech. So it's quite incredible, isn't it, Sam? How and I've said this for a while. We're coming back, aren't we, the Welsh? We're coming back. We're getting more and more national respect. And I think the first step in reclaiming Welsh pride, which is totally okay, that's one of the prides that's okay. That's a good pride. We can claim it back, and we can eradicate the term sheep shagger from the vernacular, can't we? Because we can now just sue anybody and have them fined and take them to court. And I think we should. So just saying. Just wanted to start the show with that. No more sheep shagging, basically, is what I'm saying. It's unacceptable. Hurts my feelings, and therefore I can take you to court about it. So, where should we begin with the show for real? Where should we begin for real? Well, okay, let's just start with a couple of things, just a few things. Let's just start with some ridiculousness. Let's start with the didn't happen. The kids like the didn't happen, don't they, Sam? They like that. That's what they're into these days. This is another example of how, if you ever needed an example of how to spot an example of when somebody is lying for attention on the internet, this is it, isn't it? This is ridiculous. On Reddit, front page, of course, in Reddit pics, great subreddit. You know what's in it? Just pictures. Of things that people saw, and they just have a picture of them. It's fucking mad, isn't it, Sam? How far the internet's come. It's just so mad. I mean, when I was growing up on the internet, we couldn't dream of just taking pictures and posting it to the internet. Fuck me. And now there's a whole subreddit dedicated to it. Fucking, that's bonkers. Anyway, you can see here, this is a letter. It's a picture of a letter, right? Which with some money next to it. And the guy's really gone all out to keep his story straight and to make it believable. You can see here, I'm 32 years old, says Jefe Martinez. I received this letter from my very politically active 87-year-old grandma today. You're like, well, this must be a good letter because you're 32, she's 87, and she's very politically active. So can't wait to see. So the opening line might trigger some alarm bells here. Dear very grand grandson. I mean, apart from the fact that I would probably be worried that she had dementia or something if that was...
Very grand grandson.
I can say that because obviously it's fake, isn't it? He probably doesn't even have a grandmother, frankly. But dear very grand grandson. Right. Whatever happened to just using names? Have you ever noticed in these letters, they never use names, do they? You never just say, dear Jefe, dear Simon, dear Sam, dear Richard. How dear am I to you that you can't even use my name in your completely generic white paper, centered, Times New Roman, boring piece of type? Or is that actually, that might be Arial actually. My font knowledge is poor. Your efforts at keeping up with political events of the day have not gone unnoticed, nor shall they go unrewarded. So I think also as well we can glean from this, his grandmother is a gnome who has, answer me to riddles 3, and I will reward thee. Like what time was she alive? When Gandalf was around? Why is she talking like this?
Why are you speaking in riddles?
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's there just fucking smoking that hobbit weed. Your efforts at keeping up with political events of the day have not gone unnoticed, nor shall they go unrewarded. If you play your cards right, this small token shall grow exponentially. Keep your ears open and your piggy bank ajar. Now, also, I would also say here, again, assuming this is real, which it isn't real. If your 87-year-old, apparently savvy because she's politically active grandmother, tells you at the age of 32 to keep your piggy bank open, she's probably got dementia. She's probably lost it, hasn't she? Because you're 32, you don't have a piggy bank. You have a wallet, you have a bank account. You probably got rid of the piggy bank some time ago. Keep your ears open and your piggy bank ajar. With great admiration, I remain grandma. So not only did she not use his name, she didn't use her name. And for the vague reasons of him trying to follow politics, which I don't understand how she would know unless they're having a conversation, she's rewarded him with $5, which he has decided to include on the picture, hasn't he? He's decided to include it there. I mean, she does say here, if you play your cards right, the small token should grow exponentially. It could have been shit, couldn't it, Sam? I mean, we wouldn't know. Yeah. He could have just thought, my nan's shitting in envelopes again. I better lie to protect her. And he stuck the $5 to where the smear was. I mean, because this language is so non-descriptive. I don't even understand what this is supposed to mean or why this is good.
I remain grandma.
Why is this a good thing? Why is this a good thing? My grandmother, who's into politics, has seen that I'm also maybe kind of into politics, so she sent me $5. Why is any of this a good thing? Is it funny because he's 32? I don't understand it. I don't understand what this is. So very strange, clearly a lie, clearly fake. I immediately, when I go to these threads, I like, especially when they've been upvoted, 45,701 aggregated upvotes. Front page of Reddit, one of the top 5 posts at the time. I noticed it. I like to just Control F and go to fake. Let's see what's it. Fake as fuck. Oh, that's good. This is faker than Kim Kardashian's ass. Reddit turning to fake grandma letters for satisfaction. This is so obviously fake. Why did she not address you by name? This guy's asking the real questions. Also, I don't know what grandma would rather type on a word processor than handwriting a letter. He's got a good point there, hasn't he? Yeah. And then, of course, someone replies going, my grandmother died at the age of 96 and she was on top of email and had a word processor for decades. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
I also can make up characters.
You know, my grandmother was actually a cyborg.
The next comment just, well, my uncle defeated Hitler in World War VII. Prove I'm wrong.
You know, my brother is how. It's mad, isn't it? So there you have it. So anyway, people saw that it was fake, and it was just another classic didn't happen. Just another of just out and out lies, isn't it? Now, because we like to keep the show light and breezy, we're going to just get this out the way. This is just mad. This is just a mad story. Got linked to it on Twitter, thanks to whoever sent it to me. You might have to play this. Let me just see. You might have to play this, and I'm just seeing if I can. Why would I want to? Yeah, okay. Now, this is the headline, okay? And this will probably be upsetting for some people, but this is the headline on the BBC of a father talking about his son, and he said skunk, not a skunk, but skunk, meaning super strong.
Yeah, weed.
Yeah, strong weed, for those that don't know. It's not super strong, it's just really strong. Skunk caused my son to cut off his penis.
Then he was already mentally ill, weren't he?
Yeah, it's the thing, isn't it? And it's a guy who says a man whose son cut off his penis and repeatedly stabbed his mother while high on skunk, a strong strain of cannabis, has spoken exclusively to BBC Radio 5 Live about the dangers of the illegal drug. And I do find it weird, isn't it? It is weird that at a time when America, one of the most kind of squeamish and prohibitive countries in the West, is moving towards legalizing marijuana across the board for recreational purposes, and certainly for medical purposes, of which there are many, many benefits. It's weird, isn't it, that I keep seeing in the British news where it isn't legal, where people are still trying to argue bullshit like it's a gateway drug, it causes schizophrenia, this kind of thing. I see these reports about how skunk, and in particular skunk, they never say cannabis. They always use the term skunk. It's like it's a new level of demonization. Now, yes, skunk strains are meant to be stronger. They have more of the psychoactive substance within them. They're bred specifically to do that. And I imagine if you had an underlying condition and you were smoking skunk all the time, you might trigger that underlying condition and go a little bit more mental than you already were. But I haven't seen a report that says these drugs cause it, that they put it in your brain, that it's not there. You're perfectly normal. Fucking hell, voices. Yeah, I've never heard that. Never heard that.
Happen, does it?
I don't think it does, and unless there's a study that proves me wrong. I did see a study that said people with underlying psychological conditions and a propensity for schizophrenia were more likely to suffer from extreme reactions to skunk. I'm not disputing that. Basically, it's kind of like any drug, isn't it? If you've got problems, if you've got health problems, which that's what mental health is, if you've got a mental health problem, maybe drugs aren't for you. Yeah. You know? I'm just saying, just putting that out there.
You can get a similar thing from just being extra stressed. Like, if you have, like, a propensity to it already and you get stressed, then obviously stress is going to hit you more, same as a drug is going to hit you more.
Now,
it's just a thing you have to deal with.
Let me tell you a story about my university days to sort of illustrate this point. So in my first year at university, when I went to university, it was basically when people didn't realize the sort of gravity of the cost of university or how universities were becoming a business. We'd only recently got rid of it all being grants, it was just gimme. So instead of getting one of those, you were getting loans, but it hadn't really sunk into anybody. I went to uni with a lot of fucking reprobates, and it was a much more interesting landscape at university back then because of that reason. You had people who were going to escape working class backgrounds. Now, unfortunately, the only people who can really afford are, very hardworking middle class people, or the, middle to upper class people, or just upper class people. Very rare you see working class people, what I would consider, genuine working class people going to university anymore because it's unbelievably expensive. Not really worth it at the end of the day. Like I say, as I found out, I went to university, straight back to the call center after I left. No problem there. So is this when I get the good job now? Nah, fuck off. You are back to doing what you were doing before and what you could have been 5 years ahead in had you stayed. So anyway, when I went to university, there was all sorts of crazy people. I knew a guy called Noah who took all of his money and just ran away to Thailand. Good for him.
Guy.
Don't know ever what happened to him, but he had long hair, and I remember asking him one day, like if he was a rocker and all that, and we got talking, and we had some similar tastes in music, and then like I said, we built this rapport, and I said, when you came to this university, I did all right academically, I got like 4 Bs or whatever it was at A level. What do you have? And he said, I've got an O level in French and a forklift truck driver's license.
And a dream.
And it was on the same, and his dream was wait until he had the biggest loan, plus a bursary, plus a grant, plus a bank loan, plus a credit card, and then he fled the country and went to Thailand.
What a legend.
Seen again. So maybe Noah's out there. Maybe Noah's going to get in touch.
There's a lesson we learned in that, mate.
Oh no! I learned the lesson.
Get the fuck out.
I started doing the exact same thing for like terms at a time. I used to tell all my lecturers, "Come on, let's be real. We know I'm gonna. If I send the essays in, I don't need to be in the seminars. Just mark me as if I was there." And we had a secret handshake agreement about it because they liked me, so I got away with it. Anyway. So I met loads of interesting characters. There was none more interesting than a guy, and I won't give his full name, but I do need to give his first name for the story to work, and he was called Ben. Now, Ben was a really cool guy, like really nice, gentle soul. Me and him used to have lots of talks about, Buddhism and philosophy and all of this. And when I went to university, I decided that I was going to, pay my way through part-time jobs. Yes, as I worked as a doorman or a bouncer, whatever you want to call it. But I also took my loan, all 2,000, 3,000, whatever it was, and I went to a local drug dealer and I bought a bin bag full of weed, just low. I just bought a bin bag full of weed.
I'm all in, actually, mate.
Yeah, no, listen.
That is literally the metaphorical of just pushing all your chips into the middle of the table. There you go.
This is absolutely true.
All that for nugs, please.
I went to his house I went to my bank and I withdrew all the money I had in cash. This is all true, I swear. And I just peeled.
I've made some shit decisions. This is unreal.
And I pulled off about 200 notes and thought, that'll do me because I'll be selling this, won't I? And the money will start raining in. And I went down to where we knew this guy was doing homegrown, super strong homegrown, and red beard, I think it was called at the time, because it was that orangey type. And I said to him, I went in, he had hydroponics out the back of the house. And I went in, I said, "You all right, mate? A friend told me about that you're selling weed." And he was like, "How much do you want?" And I threw a wedge on a table, and I said, "I want as much as you will sell me for that $3,000 or whatever." So he took a trash bag and he just started filling it up. I cleaned him out, basically. He still had some plants growing for had some personal use, but basically no one else was buying any weed from that guy for some time, and I had cornered the market in one fell swoop. It was the art of the deal. Right? So I remember slinging it over my shoulder like a demented Santa Claus. And I went back to campus, literally carrying it. I walked past the local police station to get to campus. Just didn't give a fuck. Like, this is rural Wales, everybody. So I got to campus. And one of the things that I used to do was I would sit up and I would smoke weed with Ben, and we would talk about philosophy and other esoteric concepts, and we would be absolutely battered. And Ben was great. And then because university starts in September, right? So we got to October. Now by October, I was skint. We smoked it all, hadn't we? I hadn't sold any. And there was even if I had sold more, there wasn't really any way to reinvest. basically what I realized was I'd pretty much bankrupted myself for the rest of my university life in one glorious, hazy 3-week high. I mean, it was mad. Like, I barely remember that period of time. I mean, like, I'd literally, it was gone. Because I was, you know me, I'm a generous guy. So it was literally like people would come over and go, you got any weed, mate? You'd be like, I got, yeah, just ripping out huge clumps of weed out of this trash bag. It's going to go off anyway, isn't it? It's going to go moldy, so we may as well smoke it all. And then I'd wake up and be like, where's all the weed gone? Smoked it all, didn't I, to stop it going moldy? So anyway.
Stop it going moldy. That's so you know you got too much fun. That's a worry. Fucking hell.
Straight up, dog. This is all legit. Never told this story before, I don't think, on a stream, but this is all true. So anyway, so that's why you're telling us all of this, Richard. So that's just to give you an idea of how much weed we'd smoked. And then it got to Halloween, didn't it? And for Halloween, we all had a nice active bunch. We had another guy called Ben. He looked just like Jesus. I mean, literally like Jesus. And he used to walk for Halloween. We always even used to call him Jesus. This is years before The Walking Dead. And for Halloween, he wore a cross and he offended the Christian Society. He got called a blasphemer. I went as Freddy Krueger. I had a black and red jumper and a very convincing Freddy Krueger mask. And Ben, right? Ben went as Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon. Now, it was perfect. We used to nickname him Ming because he looked like Ming. He had a bald head and a droopy mustache. He was one of those philosopher types. And we've been calling him Ming like all the time. It was his nickname. Somebody said, you look like Ming the Merciless. And that was it. Ming just stuck. So between, September, all that onwards, right? We get to Halloween and he says, I'm going to go as Ming. Of course he is. He looks like Ming. So it's Halloween. Freddy, Jesus, Ming the Merciless. Ming the Merciless comes out. He's done a fucking brilliant job, mate. I wish I still had photos of this. He's glued tin foil to his bald head. Like an helmet, right? He's got the droopy mustache. He's painted himself head to foot in green. He's got, which Ming wasn't even green. But,
just did it anyway.
But he just did it anyway, because in the comics, he was green. Max von Sydow in the film, not green. But you can see that black helmet he's got on. We did that with tin foil. And he bought this mad fuck-off cape, like trench coat combination and a cane. We were buckled, mate. We were buckled. And we went out and we had a legendary Halloween party, one for the ages. Still remember it to this day. We got absolutely fucked up. We were all battered. I think somebody had, some pills. There was a little bit of green left. It was a good time, right? Anyway, the next day we've got lectures and I'm fucking,
shivering.
I'm minging myself. I'm on a come down, but I got to go. I know I got to go because, again, like it was 15% of your grade. You're leaving 3 marks on the table. All you have to go is sit down and sign a fucking piece of paper and just sit there for an hour. So I turn up and fucking Ming walks into the lecture. Ben walks into the lecture and he's still dressed as Ming. He's still dressed as Ming, mate. He's still green. He's still got the tin foil on his head. He's still got the cape. He's still got the cane, right? Sat next to me, and he had this mad cheeser, mate. When he grinned, like, funny thing, he had huge teeth, like, and I was like, "You mate? You right?" So anyway, like, I was buckled. I'm going, "Oh, you haven't been home and showered?" And he was just like, "Yeah, but whatever." And I was like, "All right, whatever. I'm gonna hang over." And we're passing the paper around and signing it, right? And I sign my name, and I pass it to Ben, and Ben signs his name Benjamin instead of Benjamin. Benjamin.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like, all right, don't think nothing of it. Anyway, go home, sleep it off, wake up again. Want to get on the gear, want to get on the lash. It's the first year at uni. Wait, oi. Ben comes out of his room. He's still Ming. He's still Ming, mate. It's like that.
We're getting worried now.
Now we are getting worried. And I say to him, Ben, mate, I don't. Do you want to? Is the costume going to come off anytime soon? And he was like, going, no, actually, I think I like being Ming.
He's lost his mind.
So we're like, well, yeah, I suppose, mate. Whatever, it's uni, you know. And anyway, we got locked into this spiral of like strange shit going on. We used to get our essays back, right, in the pigeonholes. We used to get our essays back in the pigeonholes, and we'd take them back. And I used to bring everyone's back in the dorm, you know, because it was a fair trek. You had to go up a hill to get them if you were doing any philosophy or classics modules. And I used to get everyone's essays and bring them back, right? And I looked at, I got one for Ben, and I walked back, and it was red pen all over it, mate. Right? Yeah. And we had 2 assignments. We had to do, what was it? I think it was Plato's Republic and Philosophy of Dreams were the 2 modules. And what Ben had decided to do was take the 2 separate essays from 2 completely separate courses and combine them into one. Right, and he called it Medusa and the Bees, and it wasn't an essay. It was a big poem.
It was the scrawlings of a madman.
Yeah, and I looked at the back page, and you know how you meant to put a bibliography page? It says bibliography, and you say which you've used. It just said Love and Kisses Too, and it was the name of the lecturer. Love and Kisses instead of a bibliography. Red pen on the back page. Ben, we are seriously concerned. We don't think you take your academic progress very seriously. Please come and see me. So I give it to Ben, and I'm like, Ben, mate, sorry, Ming, what were you thinking when you wrote that essay? And he started explaining to me, and again, this is so vivid to me because it was like I was watching a descent into madness before my eyes. And he went, yes. You see, the television, as you call it, is a lot like Medusa. One look, and you are turned to stone. Yeah, Ben, mate, what's that got to do with Plato? What's going on? So I decided to call up his folks, right? And we had a little chat. And apparently, Ben had all sorts of mental health problems. And he'd been in a institution when he was younger. And he'd suffered all his life with schizophrenia and everything. And apparently the last time he had a breakdown was he did a bunch of LSD. And he just sort of never fully came back from it. But he got to a position where as a young adult, you know, his family all felt comfortable sending him to university, smoking all that skunk that I bought and fed to him without knowing. Every time, Ben, have another joint, mate. Come on, man up.
Grow up, have a bong it. Come on.
Have a bucket, Ben, pushing his head.
Get your lungs up.
Yeah, man up, budgie lungs. All of that. Probably, we don't know for sure. But it probably contributed, didn't it? Well, I didn't know. I thought he was just a normal, healthy geezer. So anyway, one day we were just I was up in my girlfriend's, who was on the top floor of, the bird I was seeing at the time. I was up on the top floor and having a look out the window. And a van came and literally took him away, mate. Still dressed as Ming. This is true. Still dressed as Ming. But he was still streaked green for months, mate. So they took him away. It was pretty traumatic. He didn't want to go, you know.
I am.
But it was the best thing. It was for the best. So after this must have been next year. All the old crew, we'd moved into houses now. We weren't in halls anymore. And all the old crew wanted to, check on him again. And I called up and hello, it's Richard, Ben's mate from uni. Immediately got hung up on. So this was a job for Gentle Jesus, the other Ben, who always had a more kind of, how should we say, just likable nature about him than I did back then. He was a gentle soul. So he called up, and then he came back in the room and basically said, Ben's okay, but his parents have said he can never have contact with anyone from this university again, because as far as he's concerned, this was all a bad dream and it never happened. So there you go. So don't know why I told all of that, but 69th episode, wanted to do something special. Turns out, if you do have underlying conditions, stay away from the skunk.
From the good shit.
I don't know what he's doing these days. He's not on Facebook. I've had a look. Both
Probably
Ben
straight
and
bouncing off the walls, mate.
I know. But there you go. So that is the story. People are going like, yeah, you're right. It was the original didn't happen. But unfortunately, did happen for him. Didn't happen. Had to be that way. Because imagine if you had to live your life knowing that you smoked so much weed, you became Ming the Merciless. Yeah,
Green Ming.
Have you ever been so stoned you became a cartoon villain? It's
that
mad.
What are you doing after smoking this? Turning into Ming forever.
Yeah. So it was pretty It's pretty wild, but yeah. He didn't cut off his penis though. So
see, couldn't even do that to Ming. So this isn't real.
Tenuous link. Right, let's get one last thing out of the way.
Wait, when we supposed to play this one, the videos or the audio?
It's pretty boring. Okay. It's not going to top that. It's not going to top that story, is it? I realise now I'm pretty much out of shit. This is it now. I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel, going back 15, 16 years. Do you remember when that guy went mad because he did a lot of... Do you know what I mean? This is it now. There's pretty much
nothing. New ones, mate. We'll have to have some fucking trips away somewhere.
I don't do anything.
Too old.
Too old. I don't do anything.
They'll fill you full of mushrooms, mate. You'll find something real funny.
I suppose. And I've still got exactly the best joke that I know is there for the 100K. I've got it's literally when I used to do stand up. If I couldn't get a crowd to like me and do long setups, this joke would always work. This joke would always win people over. And again, it's based on a true story, in the sense that the person who told it to me is true. So when we hit 100K, that's it then. I literally have peaked. There'll never be any good material ever again. But anyway, so I think we need a new section, Sam. You know how we've got, didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? How about grow up? That's rapidly becoming catchphrase, isn't it? Grow up, yeah? Well, here we go. Grow up. This is, again, just, don't people have enough time in the day? What are you just being offended about? Got sent this. This mother rewrote her daughter's sexist homework and instantly improved it. Independent again, of course. The Independent again, scraping the bottom of the barrel. So this is a mum in New York, got a child's worksheet, which was to help them with English, right? And it told a little story in it. And here's the story, the original, okay? And the child had to fill in certain words. And here's the story. Lisa was not happy her mother was back at work. Before Lisa was born, her mother worked in a big office. Yesterday, she told Lisa she was going back to work. The morning was terrible. Lisa had to get to school on time. Her father had to get to work on time. And now her mother was in a rush too. Lisa's father made breakfast. It was not too good. Okay. And there was other, I'll read the full thing because they haven't quoted the full thing here. Lisa did not like her day at school. And he asked Lisa to wash the dishes. That was not too good either. Lisa did not like her day at school. On the way home, she thought about it. I wonder what time Mummy will come home. I will be lonely at home. But when Lisa arrived at home, there was her mother. I left the office early so we can be together after school, she said. Lisa feels fine now. The end. Right? And you can see it was multiple choice for what word you had to pick and put in the right place. Now, unfortunately for the child, the mother saw this and was just like, this is an outrage. This is sexist. This actually, and not just sexist, she didn't just go down the feminist route. She's talking about the bigger thing, the segregated gender roles. Like, why is the man bad at cooking? You know? So she rewrote it, right? And she rewrote it to say this. Lisa was happy. Her mother was back at work. Before Lisa was born, her mother worked in a big office because it valued her important contributions to the workplace. Her employer offered nearly a year of paid maternity leave and flex time upon her return. Do kids this age need to know about the concept of flex time?
They're trying to learn how to speak.
Mummy, what's flex time? Well, flex time actually is when you can work a predetermined number of hours every week, but based around your schedule. So as long as you hit the requisite 37.5 employment hours a week, it doesn't matter what days or what order you work. Flex time! Kids shouldn't know about flex time. Save that for the miserable lives they're going to graduate into. You know, it's not fucking Snow White and the trade union meeting, is it? Come on, get a grip.
Grow up.
Grow the fuck up. Her father was home on his paid paternity leave, caring for Lisa's younger brother and contributing equally to the running of the household.
Who talks like this?
Right? Lisa's father made breakfast. It was very good, and he had Lisa wash the dishes because all functional humans should clean up after themselves. And then, just before the end, Lisa was glad she was growing up in a society free of gender bias and misogyny.
Fucking hell.
And The Independent concludes, clearly we can all learn something from Lynn Polvino's homework. And yeah, we can, can't we? Here's what I've learned. Adults that try and bring adult things into the lives of kids and don't let kids be kids are bad parents. End of discussion. I don't care. Yeah, all right, well done. You've done the bare minimum, yeah? You've put 4 walls and a roof over your kid. You've fed the kid, right? You haven't killed the kid or nonced the kid. Congrats. Here's your fucking certificate, right? You've done the bare minimum. But you are pumping this kid's head full of utter shit, utter garbage. Like, do you know what I mean? Utter fucking garbage. Why does a kid need to know about flex time, segregated gender roles? I'm pretty sure the homework was to test English, right?
Yeah.
It was to test their grasp of English. And it's got to be said, the kid had done well. Why not take that homework and go, oh, you've done really, really well here. We'll talk about some of the things in the content some other time, but I just want to say, well done. You know, Mummy's very proud of you, and this is going to get full marks. Well done. You know, and then maybe at your leisure, you decide to appropriately, contextually talk about the things you think realistically your child, from knowing your child and knowing its developmental levels, knowing what it can handle about the adult world. Or maybe you think, do you know what? That's a conversation for another day. Here's a toy. Here's a treat for doing well at homework. We're going to reinforce positive behavior and just have a good time because you're a child. What's the problem? What's the problem with that? What you don't do is you don't cause a scene by forcing your child to hand in rewritten homework that just reads like Dear Diary for an adult, doesn't it? It just reads like utter nonsense, the ravings of the terminally offended. And this kid's got to go in, hand that over to teacher. Did you do your homework? Yeah, mum did the homework.
I'm so sorry.
Kids don't want that kind of attention at school. They just want to feel normal, academic. You know, they want to feel like they're ticking all the boxes, doing what they're supposed to be doing. They want to feel accepted. They want to feel, accepted and, where possible, exceptional. This is This is ridiculous. So notice that, and that gets our fucking grow up award of the week. Just fucking grow up. Not far behind on the grow up scale has to be Kathy Griffin. Now, I thought we did a particularly good piece on Kathy Griffin and the Severed Head. I thought we strayed away from hysteria, stayed away from just the nonsense, because I was very disappointed in a lot of conservative commentators and right-wing commentators in that we are now seemingly doing what the left is doing, which is every time somebody fucks up, makes a mistake, an error of judgment, says something we don't like, does something we don't agree with, we go after them and we want to take their livelihood away. That makes us just as bad as them. Let's have a nuanced discussion about where the line is. And then eventually, as we know, the left will eat its own. That's what they do. We don't need to become like them. We don't need to be like them. But we are doing that increasingly. And I don't like it. I don't approve of that. And Kathy Griffin was stupid. As I said, there's definitely a line there that she crossed. I definitely think it's poor taste. I think the timing is very off. And I think there's never been a similar stunt aimed at a political figure by a spokesperson. A comedian, in essence, is a spokesperson. Whether you want to be or not, you're a public figure. You have a platform. You work with a media network. You work with multiple media networks. You've got a responsibility, unfortunately, whether you want to acknowledge that or not, and it's something that even lowly plebs like me have to deal with. I get told all the time, Richard, you shouldn't say that because you've got a platform. Richard, you shouldn't say that because you're a role model. The idea of me being a role model to anybody is terrifying, frankly. I don't want to be a role model, but sometimes you get told that. Sometimes you get told you got young fans, you got to behave appropriately, you got to behave like an adult, you got to embody certain values. So you do it, you do it because you realize, even though it's complete bullshit that you're held to a different standard, you got to either operate on that standard or suffer the consequences for not operating on that standard. Kathy Griffin suffered the consequences. Now, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought an apology. She lost a little bit of work here and there. She's not going to do the end of year thing with CNN. She's, not going to be allowed in a few casino shows. Back end of a stand-up tour got cancelled for a few gigs. None of that will last forever. In fact, with all these controversies, when they blow over, you generally tend to be better off after. You get more work because now you've got something new to incorporate in the act. I remember Richard Pryor, for example. I mean, a talented comedian, it must be said. But, when Richard Pryor had all the problems with cocaine and fucking police turning up at his house, and there was the time he set himself on fire, for example, he actually put all that in his act, and it made his act better. So I was going to leave it there. But here's the thing, Sam. Kathy Griffin did the worst press conference I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know.
The worst press conference
Trump
I've ever seen. Yeah, but here's the thing. All you have to do when you fuck up like this, and it's inarguably a fuck up, all you have to do is to show some contrition, fake or otherwise. It can be genuine. It doesn't have to be. Nobody will know. And you just let it blow over. You just have a cup of tea and wait for the whole thing to blow over, don't you? That's all you have to do. You get down the Winchester, mate. That's it. What you shouldn't do is hire a shrill feminist attorney to speak on your behalf, to come out, to say, this is happening because I'm a woman. If a man had done this, it wouldn't happen. To compare your position in society to that of Guns N' Roses and other acts, other musical acts known for stirring up controversy on stage and probably judged accordingly, by the way. I mean, I'm sure there's a proportionate amount of outrage about that. And then you also don't say that the person whose severed head you were holding up is actually bullying you and is out to get you simply because they've said, yeah, that's a bit too far, that is, isn't it? My severed head. Bit too much, that, Kathy. But that's exactly what she did. And I was aghast. I watched this whole thing. I think we're going to watch it and do a little live commentary on it, because you really have to watch the whole thing to believe it. There might be some bits we can skip. But it's the worst, simply the worst way to handle this particular type of controversy I have ever seen. It completely absolves her of personal responsibility. She even at the end decides, you know what, fuck it. Let's tee up some crocodile tears and say I'm the victim, which is right there, right? Like, you chose to do this thing. You knew it was going to be controversial. When the reaction to that controversy ensues and you lose a little bit of work here and there, you say that you're being bullied and sexual. It's based in sexism. It's steeped in misogyny. It's so wild to me. And then, just before we even watch this unbelievable press conference, we didn't even bring this up at the time because, you know, this quote was floating out there. We could have probably got into it. But she did say, keep in mind, okay, I'm skeptical about just how upset Baron Trump was by this. But it's still within the grounds of plausibility. He is 11. He's clearly had a very sheltered life because he's wealthy. That's just the nature of the beast. So it is conceivable he could have seen the news and seen what appeared to be, his dad, and just for a second got upset and, oh, what's happened? All right, okay, it's just another leftist screeching hysterically. Because I imagine he's seen that kind of thing before. But that being said, when you say things like this, which this was reported in Vulture, she said when talking about how she was going after Trump, this is a man she's met and had photos with, by the way. I mean, she's met Donald Trump. She's been a guest of Trump's before, with no issue about his brand of politics. What should comedy look like during the Trump presidency? So she answered, now more than ever, we must absolutely go for all the absurdities. For me, that's Trump and all things Trump. It's not about trying to be an equal opportunity offender anymore because Hillary got such a beat down. It's his turn. So I'm happy to deliver a beat down to Donald Trump and also to Barron. You know, a lot of comics are going to go hard for Donald. My edge is that I'll go direct for Barron. I'm going to get in ahead of the game. Now, there's something, I don't want to say sinister, but if that is a joke, it doesn't really land, does it? And if it's true, the idea that you're going to gain attention for yourself by going after an 11-year-old child and making material about them and doing things you know is going to upset them is pretty grotesque, actually. It's pretty fucking sick. Because I think there's an understanding that if you're a public figure, you bring that upon yourself. Your actions are there to be judged. You are responsible for the things you do and the things you say. It shouldn't reflect on your children. It shouldn't reflect on your kids because they don't have any say in it. And and then for her to turn around and say, oh, of course I didn't want to upset Barron Trump. Well, you did say, your words, you did say that was your plan. That was how you were going to get more attention for yourself. Now, let's watch this press conference. And again, guys, I want you to pay particular attention to the attorney in this case, because honestly, I just think she's done such a bad job of eliciting any sympathy for the client. I don't know. Maybe I am a misogynistic pig and I didn't know it. Maybe all of the positive relationships I have with women in work and outside of work and just in my life, maybe they're all a lie. Maybe it's just an illusion and they're all humoring me and I'm really a misogynistic asshole. But this woman handled this so bad by making this about gender. This isn't a gender issue at all. This is, quite frankly, if anybody had done this, as Bill Maher is finding out, some things are off limits now. But anyway, let's just play the whole thing, Sam. Give me
right.
3, 2, 1,
go.
Kathy did not forget that disgusting remark, for which Trump has never apologized. Kathy teamed up recently with a photographer to mock Trump, our mocker-in-chief. What would it look like if his own insults were turned on him? Wearing a pussy bow blouse in a nod to his caught-on-tape bragging about grabbing women's genitals, she held up a Trump mask with fake blood coming out of the eyes and coming out of the wherever in full hyperbole with a stern look on her face. As she said in her social media posts accompanying the photo.
Can we just pause it for a moment there? So look, so she is her defense immediately is that Donald Trump had made a menstrual joke about Megyn Kelly, which honestly, I think that's fair comment. I remember when I heard the quote at the time, I thought, when you say blood coming out of her wherever, you can pretend you didn't, but we all know what the implication is. And obviously that's a way that you would denigrate a woman, isn't it? Oh, you're being menstrual. So I accept that's not a very professional or appropriate thing to say. Got no issue with accepting that. But can you show me the connection, Sam? And I'm hoping you can. Can you show me the connection between a severing someone's head, okay, severing their head and holding it up, and the blood is smearing down the face and dripping out of the stump? Can you explain to me what that's got to do with menstruation and how that's a proportionate response?
They both have blood.
Right.
That's all I got.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. Right. So I think this defense that they concocted is a little bit hooey. It doesn't ring true, does it? But anyway, continue. It gets worse.
All right, what are you on? I'm on 46.
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
There was blood coming out of his eyes, blood coming out of his wherever. It was a parody of
Definitely
Trump's own sexist remarks, taken to an extreme
She doesn't know what
absurdist
parody
visual.
is.
Like many edgy works of artistic expression, the photo could be interpreted different ways, and Kathy was fine with that. But Kathy never imagined that it could be misinterpreted as a threat of violence against
Just listen
Trump.
to that. So.
That was never what she intended.
How
she
she didn't understand how severing someone's head and holding it up could be misinterpreted as an act of violence.
And as soon as she learned that this is how it was being received,
I thought it was all fair game, mate.
And she took down the picture, and she asked the photographer to take it down. And as fast as possible, she videoed a heartfelt apology, literally begging us for forgiveness. That should have been the end of it.
What a mess.
Many male artists have created far more disturbing imagery.
Oh my God.
A Marilyn Manson music video shows him beheading a Trump figure.
Drop Marilyn Manson.
The band Municipal Waste has an image of Trump with a bloody gunshot to his head on a band t-shirt. The band GWAR has had violent images like this
to you and me
after president for years. They're all just considered bad boys. Unlike these male artists, Kathy apologized. Unlike these male artists, Kathy has endured the most powerful man in America and his family
just while she's whittering on
to target her.
There is a difference between a musician and a comedian, right?
Also, they do put up with the consequences. Like, Marilyn Manson that can't do stuff because of the shit he does on stage. Like, it's not like he gets to live the same life Kathy does. You don't see him on CNN, do you, presenting shit?
Oh, exactly. You're not going to see Guar rock up and do, like, the fucking, ringing in the new year. Oh, the Quakers! It's not going to go like that, is it, mate?
to personally challenge Kathy's mental health. Donald Trump Jr.
Something
took
wrong
a
with that
break
man
from
love,
killing
sure.
leopards and elephants to hound CNN and its anchors on Twitter to try to
Hound?
get them not just to fire her, but to ban her from the network where she has worked for 10 years entirely, presumably forever. But that wasn't enough. He also targeted a children's book author in his tweets, suggesting that his followers contact the publisher to fire him because Don Jr. didn't like one of his jokes that was supportive of Kathy Griffin.
Right, pause it there, mate, because I forgot that she brought it up. Ken Jennings. So Ken Jennings was the children's author, and this is a children's author. Okay, a children's author signed with was it Simon and Schuster or whatever, and I would imagine, if you write books for kids, you would have some sort of understanding, some awareness, some sensitivity towards children, right? And understand that perhaps even at 11, seeing the severed head of your father might be a little bit upsetting and a little bit traumatic. Instead, this children's writer that she's talking about, the one that Donald Trump Jr. hounded. I mean, the hounding for Kathy Griffin and this children are 2 tweets. Hounding to the ends of the earth relentlessly. But just look at this. This is the archive. And in it, he said, Baron Trump saw a very long necktie on a heap of expired deli meat in a dumpster. He thought it was his dad, and his little heart is breaking. I mean, it's not very funny. And then he goes on. He throws in some other things. I mean, like he said something about Donald Trump Jr. and he goes, "Yeah, you're going to kill lots of rhinos, aren't you, until you feel better?" Because apparently that's something they've done, which I don't really approve of that. But it's just so bizarre, isn't it? I mean, when a child sort of becomes caught in this battle, there's an argument, sure, that his parents, the political machine around him, are using him as a shield almost, right? Like they're saying, look, you're offending him. Can you back off? But that's actually entirely more kindly, whatever you think about it, than targeting him because you don't like his dad, which is just unreasonable. Right? But anyway, that was the hounding. I just want to contextualize it. Let's go back to this press conference.
Right,
Give me the 3,
2, 1, go.
Criticize the president, lose your job.
That ain't what happened, was it? You beheaded the president.
What happened to Kathy? And more. As a result of the First family's bullying of her and of those she does business with, Kathy has been vilified. She's been receiving a lot of death threats. She's had her personal website and her social media channels shut down, been fired from multiple jobs, and had multiple events canceled. The Secret Service has reached out to her. The Secret Service has reached out to a comedian.
I mean, why are you surprised?
A criminal attorney who is here today.
Beheaded the president.
That's D-M-I-T-R-Y.
Took a photo of you with an effigy of the president. You know, when people were burning effigies of Obama, you think they didn't end up on a list if they knew who they were? Yeah, they did. People get a little bit worried about that when you start saying, I want to kill the president.
A comedian.
They did it with Madonna.
This has been a living nightmare for Kathy. She works hard, and she has millions of global fans, including me. But she lacks a TV network or a giant team behind her. And she has been suffering through this virtually alone.
Aww.
As every kind of vile threat has poured
I
in.
beheaded the president and now I have to take the blame.
Not to leave her home,
Oh,
not to go online,
hell.
not to receive deliveries, as the beatdown of Kathy Griffin rises to a crescendo. It stops here. It stops now. This is insane. Ted Nugent threatened to kill President Obama. Trump invited
100% did
to the White House. Trump does not realistically
and that's 100% unacceptable.
56-year-old, 110-pound Kathy Griffin.
Oh, look at her, like,
himself is
Yep,
currently
that's
facing
me.
2 lawsuits for inciting
No one
violence
thought you were
at his
actually going to kill
rallies
him, did we,
when
you
he told his
dumbo? That isn't
followers
what
to,
the
quote,
criticism is.
knock
We
the
didn't think
crap
she's
out of
actually going to go behead him.
protesters or,
What a
quote,
gimp.
punch him in the face.
What a mask-wearing
Kathy has a
gimp.
First Amendment right to make whatever provocative art she chooses. Whether or not you get or like
Don't
her
know why you would
artistic
invoke the First
expression,
Amendment here.
in
Nobody
America,
stopped you doing
Kathy
it.
has the right
Nobody
to
censored you.
publicly parody the president. In Russia,
Yep, and you have
feminist
the right
artists
to
Pussy
face
Riot were imprisoned for 2
consequences.
Yeah,
years
you have
by
the
Trump's
right to
buddy
get
Putin.
fucked afterwards.
In the U.S.,
You know.
the Supreme Court has ruled in a
Welcome to the
series
game.
of long-standing bedrock
Sean.
constitutional cases that
Welcome to the game
political
now, Sean.
satire is protected, and the government cannot retaliate against citizens for it. That's an important legal right that is now under attack
Yeah, I didn't know,
as
sorry.
journalists, networks, and artists fear retribution from Trump and his administration. He is hoping for a chilling effect on artists like Kathy and other artists. He has said he wants to sue people who criticize him. Nope. That is authoritarianism, and we will not have it.
Mentally
Kathy
ill.
Right.
has made it
Yeah,
clear
imagine a lawyer
she is not
arguing that
going
you
to
lose
stop
the
speaking out
right
for women,
to take
for
legal
LGBT
action
rights,
against
for
someone if
vets,
they
and for
defame
others.
you,
She
if
will
you believe
continue
you have
to
a
be the
case.
fierce,
It's not
brutally
for you
honest
to determine,
she-hero
right?
that
You don't say,
millions
no, you
love.
can't sue people, that's
She will
authoritarian.
continue to push the
It
edges
is
of our
also my
comfort
right
bubble
as
and
an
beyond,
American citizen
to
to
challenge
sue that.
us and to make us think. Thank you for that, Kathy, because we need you right now. I
Do we
stand
though?
with Kathy,
We never
and
needed it, don't
I
we?
will fight for her First Amendment right to create whatever
We'll
art
invoke the
she
Hillary
chooses
Clinton campaign
and
slogan.
oppose anyone who tries to punish her for it. And we will both continue to use our skills to resist Trump, whose budget would deny heat in the winter to poor people, cut grants to help poor kids go to college, cut funding for the arts, cut NPR, cut PBS,
What
and
is
cut
happening?
medical research. We stand against his anti-science climate change denial and his dangerous withdrawal from the Paris Accord.
What are you on
Trump's
about,
drafted
though?
new
But
order
we're talking about
that
you
would deny
beheading him.
birth control benefits to
What are you
This is
on
the
about?
press
thousands of
conference
American women.
to
His
justify
misogyny
or
knows no
apologize
bounds and cries out
for
for all of us
beheading
to
an
express
effigy
ourselves
of the
as
president.
forcefully as possible against him. It is Trump who should apologize for his blood coming out of her eyes, blood
Mentally
coming out
ill.
of her wherever, disgusting comment, which he has never done, and for being the most woman-hating and tyrannical president in U.S. history.
I mean, Clinton got his dick sucked in the office, mate. What
He
do
was
you
sticking
mean?
cigars where fucking cigars don't belong.
I
He's all right, though. We all
really
love a bit of
nervous
Slick
right now. I've
Willy.
never done
Yeah,
a
you
press
sound-
conference. I don't really know how they work.
Yeah, you've never
You're
been this
freaking
famous,
joking.
really, have you?
And when I get nervous, I like make jokes, so I'm probably gonna like stumble and stuff.
She's gonna
See if you can spot these
she's gonna
jokes,
make some
Sam.
comments, and then we'll do questions. Okay?
I
So
I
go
sort of
ahead.
had a speech prepared,
So let
but
her
like my
talk.
notes are by the wayside. It's all off the cuff. Look, I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. He's bullying.
What are
I
you
dealt
on
with older
about?
white guys trying to keep me down my whole life, my whole career. I'm a woman in a very
beheaded
male-dominated
him.
field.
What are
I
you
love
on
what I do.
about?
I love making people laugh more than anything in the world. And I have
Maybe one
learned
day you
over
will.
the years that sometimes when you do stand up, and I've done it in a war zone,
trying.
and I've done it at Walter Reed
God.
Hospital, and I've done it at Carnegie Hall. Sometimes people want, a joke that's out there and a little crazy. So regarding the image that I participated in, that apology absolutely stands. I feel horrible. I have performed in war zones. The idea that this, made people think of this tragedy, to have been touched by this tragedy, is horrifying and it's horrible. Trust me, if I could redo the whole thing, I would have had a blow-up doll and no ketchup. I make mistakes. I'm an out there comedian. I'm an in-your-face
was a good
comedian.
joke.
But I just wanted to say, if you don't
It's
stand
warming
up,
up, Sam.
you get run over. And what's happening to me has never happened ever in the history of this great country, which is that a sitting president of the United States and his grown children and the first lady
His
are
grown children.
personally, I feel,
He's a
personally,
grown
trying
ass
to
child.
ruin my life
This
forever.
child is
Forever.
11
You
years
guys know him. He's never going to stop. I know
It's
him.
a fully grown family.
And I might make a couple jokes. because I'm super nervous.
What
Everyone's
does
trying
that
to
even
get the camera.
mean? This man and his fully grown family.
All right, so I know him. All right, so the Donald, it's me, the Kathy. And if you guys don't know this, if you meet him, he wants you to call him the Donald, which I've always thought was the weird. And I remember saying to him the first time, okay, I'm the Kathy, and that went right over
that's
his
definitely
nest.
not true either.
Yeah,
Okay,
did
that
not.
was a joke about his
Did
hair.
not.
But I have seen eggs in it. Like, I think I've seen, allegedly. Allegedly, I am teasing the president because this is America, and you shouldn't have to die for it. The death threats that I'm getting are constant, and they are detailed, and they are serious, and they are specific. And today it's me, and tomorrow it could be you. So, yeah, I'm an obnoxious comedian. I'm not the most famous person in the world. I'm just standing here with Lisa. I have an amazing First Amendment attorney, Alan Isaacman. If you're not familiar with his work, he won the landmark case, The People versus Larry Flint. I believe so passionately about this. If I don't stand up and say this, I'm afraid there's going to be some 12-year-old nerdy girl like me in Forest Park, Illinois, who's going to maybe be watching me to see what I do.
Maybe one day I can behead the president.
This president, of all people, is going to come after me? He picked the wrong redhead. And he's sort of a redhead, although it's sort of like a parfait cup sometimes. I mean, there's like a red and then like a yellow, and I don't know. I think Melania does a lot of nice and easy. I don't know, but maybe she doesn't. The point, I digress.
Jesus.
So that's what I do, you guys.
I
I
know
improvise. I
Fuck
tell
it.
jokes.
Is this thing on?
Because I'm so nervous. But I don't
Yeah,
want this to happen
nervous,
to
we get
anyone
it.
else. I
Keep
tour
saying
for
that
a
while you
living.
bomb.
I love doing it.
That low.
I perform
really
everywhere
nervous.
people want me to laugh. And honestly, one night it's a performing arts center, and the next night it's 2 shows in the Potawatomi, Wisconsin casino. And there's been a change, a real shift change. And, you know, starting maybe about 18 months ago, where Fox News ain't got nothing on me. Although I think you should know, my mother, who thinks Fox News is real, is not speaking to me because she's...
What, is Fox News not a real thing? Is
So
it
I'm
like
even in trouble with my
Santa?
mother. So don't worry, everyone hates
Lol,
me.
he still
I
thinks
do.
Fox
I do.
News is
I'm
real.
shaking. And I'm afraid I'm going to get that under boob sweat, which is really the bad one.
Literally shaking.
Fuck me.
That was not appropriate, right? That wasn't appropriate. Okay, so I'm not good at being appropriate. I only know how to do comedy one way. It's in-your-face comedy. I keep it real. I'm gonna make fun of the president.
Keeping
And
it
you know
real,
what? I'm
Sam.
gonna make fun of him
Straight
more now.
real.
More.
Yeah.
So I'm
You-
not
you
going to
parfait
offend him.
cup.
I have no desire to harm him or anyone. I would never want to harm anybody. But you know, I've made fun of W. I made fun of Clinton. Oh,
You
God,
didn't
remember
behead
Monica
them
dress
though,
days?
did
Those
you?
were the days.
That's the
You could
point.
make dress
How
jokes
mental
all
is
day
this?
long, and nobody
I know,
tried
it's
to
mad.
kill
It-
you.
it-
I
it's
want
a
people
co-
just
it-
shouting
it
at
com-
her.
completely absolves herself of any responsibility for what she did. And I know this is the strategy. I don't know if this is like what they deliberately came up with. But they literally, all they're talking about is like, I'm the victim, I'm being bullied, I'm being oppressed, Trump's doing this. Even Trump's policies. At no point have they said, yeah, you know, maybe beheading presidents just isn't, maybe that is a step too far. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
Horrible call. I understand. But everywhere I go, people actually come up to me.
Nah,
And
just
like I said,
sexist,
I
isn't
go
it?
everywhere. It's what I do.
I think.
And they say, you know, oh, I'm a housewife and my kids have been driving me crazy, and oh, I just needed 2 hours to blow off some steam, and I'm glad you went there, and you're saying the things I'm thinking. Those are my peeps. I'm not for everybody.
I'm a housewife and I needed
barely
2 hours to blow off some
frankly.
steam. So
On
I'm
a
so
good day, I'm
glad you
acquired
pretended
taste.
to behead
But
Donald
honestly,
Trump.
my whole
That
career,
really
I'm
did it
56
for me,
years
that.
old.
Yeah.
I'm 110
I mean,
pounds wet.
I don't think
I've
you
had
speak for every
everybody turn
housewife
on
there,
me, and I
honestly.
just want to make people laugh. That's all I want to do.
Come on.
So I screwed
we
up.
go.
But I want
Here it is.
the
Here
gay
we
guy
go.
Come on,
who
mate.
came to see me in Lake Charles, Louisiana a few weeks ago, who said, I wanted to come
Look at
here
this.
because I'm scared to come
This is
out.
wild.
But I get to come here and laugh for 2 hours.
I didn't have
That's
neither.
what I'm telling you. That's why I'm here. It's
Didn't know.
it's honestly.
No,
it's
the
not
reason
for
you're
me,
here
it's
is because
for
you
them.
beheaded the president in a
think
picture,
a
and
few
everyone
people might
made fun
actually
of
be
him and got
watching
all
me.
your jobs taken
And I
away.
want
That's
them
why
to
you're
see
here.
this old dame. I'm not laying down for this guy. I'm gonna make fun of him. I'm gonna make jokes about him and
So,
the housewives and
just don't behead him.
Kardashians. But you know, he does provide a lot of material. I mean, you got to be honest. He really. It's a good time to be a comedian. It's scary to be a citizen.
Yeah, so
but
focus
it's a good
on
time to be a comedian.
Mocking the things he says and does in your material and not severing his head. Try that.
I don't know
And
if
doing
that
it, doing an
works.
ISIS
Just
pose.
keep saying about. I'm gonna keep criticizing him. No one's asked you not to. Just
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
behead
yeah.
him.
It is seven. Oh, here we go. This is a
Quoted
good
you as
question.
saying that you were happy to deliver a beatdown to Donald Trump, and also to Barron, and that you quote
That was a funny
wanted to go down hard on Donald, and go direct for Barron Trump.
When is this quote
So
from?
this is a quote.
Yeah, I've said
From
that in
when?
my act.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She said that in her. So she
Yeah.
admits.
Years ago.
So you admitted
Oh.
you're going after Barron Trump.
When
Is that
years
what this
ago?
is all about?
How is she going
piss
after
off
Barron
I think a
Trump?
comic should be able to make fun of everybody. Like I
And
make.
I apologize. My question was for Lisa.
Oh.
So
Oh.
are you aware that your client is trying to go after Barron Trump?
Okay, so that's a ridiculous, misleading question.
What do you mean? It's the truth.
I think.
That's
And let me talk
ridiculous.
about-
Not
Let me
though.
talk about this issue of children. Okay, we can have edgy comics in America. Comics can say things that are not appropriate for children. Comics
What?
can create images
That isn't
are
what
not
we're
appropriate
saying.
for children.
Deflected
Many
that
things on the news
motherfucker.
are not
She's got the
appropriate for
shield
children.
up.
I'm a parent
Deflect.
of 2 adult children and a teenage
Well done.
foster
2
son.
adult,
It is my
fully
job as a
grown
parent
children.
to filter out what is appropriate for my children. It is
Got a
not the
fully
job
grown
of a comic
family.
to filter everything down to the level of an 11-year-old. She gets to make the comedy and the art
What are you
that
on
she
about?
wants to make. And
She's
the
just
parents
gone off the
decide
rails.
What's appropriate
So
for
follow up,
children?
you think every
No,
news
we
organization
could.
can block out. Trump can block out every news organization tweeting out this photo.
You know
think
what?
one
There's a
parent
lot of
could actually do
disgusting
that?
stuff about Trump on the news every day, like the fact that he's making us the laughing stock of the
But why did
world.
she go after
Okay, you know what? There are
Didn't
other
behead
people
him,
here.
though. You
She
keep
did
missing
not-
the
wait, hold
line.
on. She did
They
not
didn't
go
behead
after
him to
attend-
itself.
Nothing
That's
in
her
her
quote.
piece
She
had
wrote
to
she
do
would, though.
with Barron. So
She
you're
wrote she
trying
would,
to make
though.
something that doesn't
What are your
exist.
thoughts on
I make fun of everybody in my act. I make fun of I'm like one of those people that makes fun of everybody in my act.
Alright,
Myself
great.
the most, but
One of those,
I'm super real.
I'm one of
and
those
I sort
people
have
that
the
just
stage.
aren't funny.
If it's real or it's shocking, and sometimes I say shocking things to kind of wake people up. But yeah, I said that during a live show. I make fun of everybody in my act. I mean, you know.
You said you feel about the fact that he was traumatized?
Well, allegedly.
So
We don't know that. You're assuming that everything the Trumps say is true. And in fact, we know that many of the things that the Trumps say are false. So again, comedians get to be edgy. Comedians get to use 4-letter words. Comedians get to make visual representations
They
that
do.
are not appropriate for children. News organizations can decide what they're going to put on daytime
Do
TV.
they get to behead
Parents
presidents,
can
though?
decide what's
Yeah.
appropriate
As a
for
rule.
children to see.
Evidently
tell
they
you
do.
what, CNN
Well, it's not
also
appropriate for
gets
children,
a
I
get
would
the
say,
fuck
across the
off
board.
my show
Like,
because
trust
Yeah,
me,
you
exactly.
beheaded the
when I
president.
used to do a joke in my
And
act
a
where I was
network
doing
that's
clubs
known
when
for
I
its
would
news
sometimes
and
say
therefore
shit
has to
about
have
I've
its
got a
degree of
kid here.
impartiality
I'd say, well, you're at the
would be
wrong
right
effing
to distance
place. Like,
themselves
I'm very
from
open
anybody
about
that isn't capable of that
It's-
impartiality, right? I mean, what's the critique here exactly?
It's frozen.
Yeah, it freezes up for a little bit here because I think the battery went out on the cameras.
that wall.
I just want to leave it on until the bit where she goes, "Trump broke me."
Yeah.
So I'm a big
Because that
comedy
is-
fan, and I think
that
it's
is
important
good.
to have
Good eating.
comics that do super clean comedy, comics that do political commentary, prop comics, all of it. So I'm this is the kind of comedy I do. So it's the style of comedy that I do.
Yeah, you said you've been bullied by the Trump family. Have they reached out to you outside of social media?
I don't think they have to. My impression is that they have mobilized their armies or their bots or whatever they do. Like I said, it's quite clear to me that they're trying to use me as a distraction, and I'm not going to be collateral.
Quote was saying I was specifically going after him.
So I'm gonna
Didn't
say I
happen
think
though,
the president-
even though I definitely said it and admitted it.
I can say
I'm mentally ill.
Absolutely. I don't think I will have a career after this. I think he.
Will you though?
I'm gonna be honest. He broke me.
He broke me.
He broke me.
All right, so we can
Oh,
put.
we gotta watch that again, man.
Yeah, go for it. You replay it. Keep in mind how Donald Trump broke me. How did he break you exactly? Just by virtue of him existing? What did he do? He never said anything about Kathy Griffin. He never did anything to Kathy Griffin. Never did anything at all. In fact, as I said, they've met before, Sam. Let me see if I can find it.
He broke me. It's not
You know.
right. It's just not right.
I don't understand. Like, you know. Let me see if I can find
Try
these
to
pictures.
spin this, man. No, you beheaded the president, and they said you did it.
That's the
what
thing.
happened.
It's the opposite. You're trying to spin this now. Here is a picture of her posing with Donald Trump. I mean, this is, was he breaking her hair? Is this fake? Is this a fake photo? You know, what are you actually saying? You look
Seems
quite
a nice guy there, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's cheesing.
Seems all right, doesn't he? That was this is from an article in 2016. So just November 2016. And you can tell from the photo, you know, this is when he was the president-elect. He just won the election when that photo was taken. Was he a bad guy there? Was he breaking her there? I mean, clearly what she's done here is, you know, if she had an issue with all the things he supposedly said, you know, like the grab him by the pussy thing, okay, which is alluded to in that press conference if you watch the full thing, that had already been leaked by now. Yet there you are posing and smiling with the president-elect. I don't get it. Clearly, what has happened here is you have seen an opportunity to make money out of criticizing Trump in any way possible. And the more extreme the criticism, you know, I mean, we live in a time where, honestly, some of these, what's he called?
He broke me?
The commentator, the baseball commentator who turned politician, Keith Olbermann. We live in a time where Keith Olbermann literally sat on Twitter tweeting, "Fuck you, Donald Trump, you traitor motherfucker," and he tweeted that over and over again over this nonsense. This absurdist idea that Donald Trump is a Russian puppet because they have blackmail material on him. And this is Keith Olbermann. This is an American sports commentator who decided to go into politics and has started something called The Resistance. And he just calls Donald Trump a motherfucker every day. That's what he does. Calls him a traitor and a motherfucker. And he makes money out of that. You've seen all of these absolute losers in previous podcasts who reply to everything Donald Trump tweets because in doing so, they get a platform they wouldn't have in their useless lives because they're not talented. They're not insightful. They don't want to work hard. They don't produce anything of any worth except criticism of Trump. And Kathy Griffin realized, shit, this is a shortcut, isn't it? It's a shortcut to relevancy in the political landscape. And she thought, but how can I go one step further? We got Keith Olbermann wrapped in an American flag saying, Donald Trump, fuck you, you treacherous motherfucker. I'll be there when you go to prison. All this other absurdist nonsense. He's not getting impeached. He's not going to prison. None of this is going to happen. And you're embarrassing yourselves. But how can we take it further? Kathy Griffin figured, let's have a photo of me with his head off. You know, I have beheaded the mighty Donald Trump, and everyone will cheer, and loads of people did. But many people didn't. Many people realized, shit, this is actually way too far. On both sides, it's got to be said. And they created the landscape of where free speech is being policed. They created the landscape of where say the wrong thing on social media, you lose everything. This is an invention of leftists. These are the wages of sin. You can't have it both ways. I'd like us to get back to a world where we can have sensible discussions. But if you're not willing to do that for everybody, if you're not willing to do it for the Milo Yiannopoulos of this world, we can't do it for the Kathy Griffins either. I'm sorry. It's not how it works. Rules are rules. And you have introduced and dictated a set that will no longer be ignored by your political opponents. That's where you exist. So completely absurd, you know, to suggest that she's the victim in it. You can watch the last 10 minutes of that press conference if you want. As I said, it goes back to this is all happening because she's a woman. I mean, they expressly say it at the end. They say to her, Kathy, do you think this would be happening if you were a man? And she says, absolutely not. I mean, you know, she can't say it in any clearer terms than that. I don't understand the basis. We don't have another control model of a male comedian who works for a major media network in America beheading the president. We don't have that to measure. Do you know why we don't have that to measure against it? Because most people realize that's a bad fucking idea and maybe across the line of good taste and decency. So, So that was the Kathy Griffin press conference. Just to follow on as well, I talked about, other people getting in trouble. Did you see what Bill Maher did? Or Bill Maher, as it's pronounced.
I heard. Remind me. I heard some shit about him.
So he's interviewing a senator. You'll just have to see the clip. You'll just have to see the clip. Right. I can't even describe it, right?
Drop me a link.
But basically, he was interviewing a senator, right? On his show. And you're like, well, Bill Maher's...
Yeah, I remember.
Bill Maher's a free... Sorry, I want to call him Mayor, but it's Bill Maher. Bill Maher is a free speech advocate, right? So you're like, okay, well, when I heard, he said the N-word, I was like, okay, well, it'll be in a context.
It's outrageous, man.
Yeah. I said it'll be in a context where there's at least some room for discussion. But absolutely not. Just watch this clip and tell me if you guys think this is reasonable. Drop me the 3, 2, 1 when you're ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
To Nebraska more. You're welcome. We'd love to have you work in the fields with us. Work in the fields? That's part of that. That's Senator. I'm a house nigga. No, it's a joke. Thank you.
He's immediately uncomfortable. The guy's just like, why has he said that though?
Yeah. Where to even begin with this, mate? Because, look, if you are a true free speech advocate and you believe that words themselves cannot be inherently racist or offensive or anything like that, and you want to preserve language in its purest form and be able to use the full gamut of every word that has ever existed, I suppose then you would say, well, look, it's contextual. Some people use it like a term of endearment. Some people want to, diminish its racist history by overuse, that the more people who say it, the less potent it is. That was a big thought process behind black musicians reclaiming the word and entering into street vernacular. Meanwhile, other people believe there is no context within which that word is okay. I think that's probably a tad extreme. I definitely wouldn't tell a black person they can't say it. I don't think that's up to me. I don't think I get to make that decision. Here's what I will say. If you are going to make the argument that it's not a racist word, why the fuck would you use it in a joke that directly links to slavery? I can't even understand the thought process here. It's the way he lures the audience in. The guy goes, I'd love to have you work out in the fields with us. And he looks at the audience and and they all start going, because that is in itself a potential reference to the slave trade. Oh, look, it's a Republican using a phrase that we might not like. And then at that point, you've got the audience on side. You can tell a very smart joke there about, you Republicans just never quit, do you? Or the South will rise again, or just something like that, right? You make him look like the racist. But no, you proclaim yourself to be a House N-word. And let's be clear about what the House N-word was. That is the person who was deemed worthy of doing indoor work over the person who wasn't. It's still incredibly patronizing, condescending, and ultimately dehumanizing. And you've decided to say that just as you've geared up your audience into being tacitly aware of the racist phraseology that's playing out in front of you. This is, I don't even know. I don't know if Bill Maher was just jacked up on his own hubris, like it can't happen to us. Liberals get a pass. I don't know. And I'm not saying he is a racist. But again, it comes down to this old argument. When is it okay? When do we turn a blind eye? When do we say this person can say it, that person can say it? You know, imagine if, again, just a conservative commentator had said that. Imagine Milo had made that joke when he was talking to Bill Maher on his show during the interview. And Bill Maher said, love to have you come work out in the field. And Milo said, oh, I'm a house N-word. What do you think happens to Milo? Do you think he is publicly crucified for using a racist phrase? I think so. What if Ben Shapiro had said it? Crucified for using a racist phrase. Pick a conservative commentator. Pick anybody. Sean Hannity, if he'd said that, he'd be fired. Now, I am not saying I want to have that as the go-to standard and go-to reaction when people try and be provocative. I think that is a dangerous precedent to set. But within this context, it's not all right. It doesn't even make sense that you would go there. You're interviewing a senator. The only reason racism and slavery permeated was because of his clumsy phraseology. He didn't say work in the field with us. He said work in the fields, plural, which has a very different imagery associated with it. One that led Bill Maher to say what he said. But it's inexcusable. And again, if these things were to happen from conservative or right-wing or even centrist commentators, you don't even finish the sentence. It should be, hey, I'm a house, I'll get my coat. I'm done. I've fucked up. This is it. This is not acceptable in the current political climate. So I couldn't believe that either. But it's almost like I feel right now that these people are starting to feel invincible. That, you know, there's a very weird sense, like when you look at like tyrannical groups in society, right? When you look at groups that like to impose rules and laws and punishments on people, it's very rare, isn't it, that they will be open-minded and it'll apply to them as well. Oh, I think we're entering that phase now of liberalism, the left, or rather leftists, the leftism. I think what we're starting to see now is that, hey, well, we keep getting passes. We keep getting away with this stuff. So maybe the rules don't apply to us at all. Maybe we can sever a president's head and hold it up and talk about free speech and how I'm a victim. Maybe I can just say the N-word in a political interview and not just the N-word with an A or the N-word, in a context that would make it perfectly fine. Like, for example, I'm straying on the side of caution, but if I wanted to quote Bill Maher and what he said, I should be perfectly okay to do so. The reason I don't isn't out of some squeamishness around the word. It's simply about having a clip taken out of context. So, you know, there are contexts where if I'm quoting somebody who said it, I should be allowed to say it. Because I'm quoting them directly. But again, we're now that squeamish and weird and freaked out about it. People won't even do that. The news won't even do that. The news, when telling you what somebody has said, if it has that word in it, they will automatically censor that word and divert to N-word or racial epithet. That's what they'll say. That's the phraseology they adopt to avoid this problem. Now, if we're that sensitive about it, then it's quite clear what the appropriate action is. Bill Maher has actually got to have some punitive measures taken against him because that would be the standard for anybody else. But so far, it looks to be pretty much quiet on the Western Front. No one cares. Bill Maher offered an apology, I believe. I'll see if I can just find that for you. Yeah, here's the apology here. This is over on NPR. And again, fortunately, it wasn't like Kathy Griffin's apology. Let me just read it for you. So he said, Friday night's always my worst night of sleep because I'm up reflecting on the things I should or shouldn't have said on my live show. Last night was a particularly long night. I regret the word I used in the banter of a live moment. The word was offensive, and I regret it, and I'm very sorry. And then the senator, the Republican senator, who obviously laughed at the joke and was condemned for laughing at the joke, said, I'm a First Amendment absolutionist. Comedians get latitude across hard lines, but free speech comes with a responsibility to speak up when folks use that word. Me just cringing last night wasn't good enough. Here's what I wish I'd been quick enough to say in the moment. Hold up. Why would you think it's okay to use that word? The history of the N-word is an attack on universal human dignity. It's therefore an attack on the American creed. Please don't use it. And obviously there was a lot of hashtags. Obviously, Fire Bill Maher, the Reverend Al Sharpton wasted no time in getting involved and says he wants to meet with HBO because he doesn't think it's acceptable that the N-word should become normalized. I hope he hasn't seen The Wire because that'll blow his fucking mind. But again, it seems to have blown over, right? Like it seems to have just, it's all right, it's okay. And that is a worrying trend, I suppose, because it's like, imagine being caught betwixt two worlds like I am, Sam. And this is where I am. I don't want everybody to, like I say, lose their job every time they say something controversial, provocative, and maybe accidentally stray over a line that they should have known was a line, but went over it all the same. Hunter S. Thompson always said the only people who truly know where the edge is are the people who go over it. And that's very true. But by the same token, I've spent 2 years now watching personal friends, people whose work I admire and respect, even myself, being crucified for being things that we're not, based on things that we said that you don't like, construed, taken grotesquely out of context. It comes back to, hey, Richard, did you work for Breitbart? Yes, I did. Therefore, you are a white supremacist. There's no... If you are going to put that on everybody on the opposite side to your political opponents, you've got to be willing to take the punches back when you guys fuck up. An apology wouldn't cut it. I could spend the rest of my life, I've got no reason to, but I didn't do anything wrong. But I could spend the rest of my life apologizing. I should never have went to Breitbart. I'm so sorry. Take me back, liberal. I mean, I don't want to be in that club anymore because they're all mentally ill. But, the point is, like, I could apologize a million times. It wouldn't make a difference. Milo could apologize a million times. They'd still lie and say he was a pedophile enabler. They go to the places to hurt you the most, to make you lose everything. And they choose the timing for the maximum impact. This is how the progressive left has operated for 2 years. We cannot, when you create an environment like that, the right's obviously going to fight back at some point. And I think there's something very wrong, and we can see inherently broken with the machinery if people are getting away with apologies. If that Kathy Griffin news conference is anything to go by, the press conference where it's like, hey, I'm not even going to apologize. I am the victim. I am the victim. You're not the victim, are you? You did something wrong. You did something that upset people. You did something that offended people. You believe this is the standard by which we need to live. It never was this way. It wasn't this way 10 years ago. You created this. So why do we selectively choose who the sacrificial lambs on the altar of political correctness are going to be? And why are they always on one side of the political spectrum? Why? So, again, just some food for thought. Right, let me have a look at how long we're doing here, because obviously... Are we coming up to the 2 hours?
About an hour 45 in.
We got time for some follow-up stuff then. Let's go to the candy shop. Yeah, let's do that. So I don't know if you saw the front page of Reddit yesterday. A story had made its way to the front page. And obviously, there's been a lot of coverage about, look, things we know about Reddit. Reddit is a shithole. It has no value for anybody that creates anything. It is the absence of creativity. It's an aggregator site. All it does is take other people's work and basically leeches off it. I mean, that's pretty much the premise of the site. And because people are so lazy and they want to find things easier in an ever-expanding internet, which is fine. It's your right as a consumer to want convenience. Just know that's what you're doing. That's what you're effectively saying. You know, people just want to click on one page, right? And rather than look at 10, have to Google shit, keep up with other forms of social media. That's what this aggregator has done. It's the only reason Reddit is successful. It has no intrinsic value in and of itself. You can talk about, oh, but what about all the communities? Yeah, you know, is it though? Those forums could just exist just as equally with your own little bee-boards. And increasingly, they're becoming isolationist in nature because despite Reddit publicly saying, oh, we're going to bring in etiquette, modicate, whatever you want to call it, rules that the mods have to live by. And one of those rules is you can't ban somebody from your subreddit for things they do in another subreddit. There's still Reddit staff like Red Taboo, the ex-junkie, who has ascended to being Reddit staff, who is basically putting a block bot in place for 2X chromosomes, the feminist page that has the incredible fan fiction in it that we've talked about quite a lot. You know, this is we're being told by spares and the executives, this is the future, this is what it looks like. Meanwhile, Reddit staff and moderators continue to break their own internal set of rules. That's Reddit. So it was no surprise to me when I saw manipulated clearly to the front page a fake story, a fabrication by the Huffington Post. Who else? I mean, like, you know, continually setting the high bar, the high standard of journalism. And it was this. Now, we know that here's what we do know. So we know this is indisputable fact, that during the Hillary Clinton campaign, Media Matters, Share Blue, Correct the Record, these super PACs that were dedicated to stopping fake news and misinformation about Hillary Clinton. We know they were manipulating popular sites. We know they were manipulating Twitter. We know they were manipulating Reddit. We know that is literally what they were spending their time doing. And they were doing it by either getting fake accounts, creating fake accounts, or using existing people with sympathies towards the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign to pervert and subvert discourse. If you look at the shift, the huge shift from r/politics that happened over the last 18 months, 2 years, huge overwhelming Bernie subreddit, lots of criticism about Clinton. Suddenly, around about the same time, Bernie gets fucked by the DNC. Our politics is all about Hillary Clinton. I'm with her. It may as well be r/Clinton. It was completely impossible to get anything to the front page unless it was two things: a positive story about Hillary Clinton, or more often than not, a negative story about Donald Trump. That was the subreddit's entire existence. So we know these things definitely exist. We've also seen front page stories on Reddit themselves about companies that have simply bought and manipulated posts to go to the front page to promote their products, and they've done it for as little as £100 or $100 and stuff like this. That's how easy it is to game the Reddit system. Reddit pretend there isn't a problem with this because it means they'd have to get off their ass and do some work. And Reddit is a failing platform in terms of monetization. They struggle immensely. It's one of the most populous sites in terms of user base, traffic. It's one of the busiest sites on the internet. They seem to not understand how to monetize these things, how to cater to their user base. Instead, they're more interested in political influence, which is why they turn a blind eye to this bullshit. So again, imagine my surprise on the 4th of June, on the front page of Reddit, again, manipulated in some subreddit called Fuck the Alt-Right or something. Nice, reasonable subreddit like that. There was a Huffington Post story, and I'm gonna link you the archive here. And this is the Huffington Post at their finest. Shakir Akoredi, a contributor who is a writer and digital entrepreneur. I mean, this guy knows his stuff. So it says here, it wasn't just the Russians that made Trump win. It has been heavily theorized that Russia played a large role in pushing President Donald Trump to victory in the 2016 elections. President Trump has been under fire for revealing highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister, right? And again, it wasn't highly classified, and it was about a terrorist threat that they're trying to tackle together. But okay. Let's face it, why the Russians would be motivated to see Trump in office has been speculated on by many, but only recently has it come to light just how Russia may have put Trump into office. I mean, again, it hasn't come to light how Russia have put Trump into office, and that certainly wouldn't explain why they've done, the Trump administration have done so many things that would clearly upset Russia, but whatever. It's the Huffington Post. We can't expect a high standard here. A private source from Trump's campaign, always these private anonymous sources leaking documents, has leaked an invoice from the Oak Park Alliance, a high-profile marketing agency specializing in digital marketing. Well, this sounds serious, doesn't it? Oh, my me. Among the largest charges on this invoice is a $30,000 charge for 30 front-page posts, r/the Donald. Among Reddit users, the Donald is a well-known community that focused on championing Donald Trump throughout the campaign season. Also included on the invoice are several services, such as downvotes on subreddit supporting Democratic presidential candidates Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, publications of high-profile articles, content creation, and one listed as damage control. Again, you can probably start to see immediately what's wrong with this, but I'm going to show you the invoice. Oak Park Alliance's site touts itself as a group of behavioral psychologists and computer scientists offering marketing services for state and local governments, large corporations, financial institutions, and personal branding. When contacted, they stated quite openly that they are able to manipulate any online platform by controlling public conversations, by posing as multiple personas, bringing customized content to the front page of large news and social media sites, and even doing what they call damage control by manipulating and minimizing negative press that emerge in association with their clients. Now, these things do go on. AstroTurfing is rife on Reddit. I'm not saying that this isn't something that does happen. It's just in this case, it's a massive didn't happen. Anyway, let's just ignore the wittering of a deranged man. Let's have a look at this very compelling piece of evidence, which is the invoice itself. I mean, this invoice, it's a slam dunk, right? It's an absolute slam dunk, Sam. Wait till you see this invoice. Who could doubt that this is genuine?
Look. Sound.
Right. So let's get into just breaking this invoice down, right? Let's do that. Yeah, no. Wait a minute. Let's give it a chance. Give it a chance. First thing that would ring bells for me, Sam, as somebody that's dealt with invoices, when you put your invoice down and you're using a company name, it generally makes sense to put down a company name that exists. Donald J. Trump President Incorporated. That's not a business, is it? You couldn't register the presidency itself as a business. Just think about that. Think about what you would have to do. It would have to be a new business he just registered for the presidency isn't a business. It's not a business. But here's where it gets interesting. So if you start looking into who the Oak Park Alliance are, there is no who is information whatsoever, which, okay, fine. If you worked in this kind of dark arts on the internet, you would probably try and hide that, right? But this domain was completely inactive prior to this report, it seems, and it was recently updated on May 27th, 2017, so very, very recently. If you go on Google, you won't find Oak Park Alliance anywhere. The top result is a soccer team. If you go on the National Business Register, nothing there. If you go for a trademark search, nothing there. And actually, if you go on the About on the website, which let me just see if it's still open. because I think it might have been took down after the embarrassment. I've got an archive of it. Here we go. So here's the about page for the Oak Park Alliance. Who we are. We're behavioral psychologists and computer scientists. What can we do? Promotion, branding, how you'll benefit, acquire potential users, increase brand positivity, platforms we specialize in, all of the ones that you can manipulate, who we'll work with, political campaigns, financial institutions, blah, blah, blah. Interested in a partnership with us, contact us. You go to the contact page, it's just a default blank form that goes to the website. There's no names, there's no expertise, there's no visible email address anywhere on this site. Now, I'll tell you, when you are doing consultancy work, you probably want to put that out there, because how would I glean who is a consultant worth hiring and who isn't? So it's absurd. So the invoice as well, but somebody went on the internet, the user lines read lines. Do you know what the invoice template is? It's the default invoice template in Word. It's laid out exactly the same. So, I mean, this implies that, I suppose you could argue Donald Trump is incompetent enough to do this. But, I mean, Donald Trump himself wouldn't be handling the invoices for Donald J. Trump President Incorporated, a business that doesn't exist, by the way. So they've used the default Word invoice document, which is interesting. Also, as well, as I said, if you search for Donald J. Trump President Incorporated, you will not find this business anywhere. No such company exists. You would have to register this. It would be illegal to register this, I'm pretty certain, because, as I said, the article of the presidency cannot be commercialized. When you say things like on the invoice itself, have you seen some of the services they're charging for, Sam?
No.
Look at that. Reddit downvote. r/enough Trump spam. Front page post.
Prices are sort of random as well.
Donald. Why would you leave a paper trail like this? If you were doing anything that was untowards or nefarious, this is like saying, price of killing Seth Rich.
Assassination fee.
Yeah. Assassination fee. You wouldn't do that. That would just be absurd. If a document came out that said something along those lines, it would be completely ridiculous. You would know to discount it immediately, because why would you incriminate yourself on a fucking piece of paper like that? It's only got a PO box. It has no actual address. That isn't a physical office space. It's just a post office box. And also they charge one downvote for one is $1 a downvote. A bit weird. Now, this is where it's complete bullshit. Because if you spend any money on any service during a political campaign, it has to be accounted for. And there's a site called Open Secrets, which we've used a couple of times for a couple of stories on the podcast. And you have to, it'll either be on there, right? Or it'll be in an FEC disclosure. This service cannot be found anywhere, right? And what's also interesting is, if you look at the background of the guy who writes this is somebody who has written this. This is somebody who doesn't really have like any huge particular credentials in the space. He's never done any form of investigative pieces before. If you look at his blog, he says he's an Islamic and Arabic scholar who preaches sound Islamic doctrine, broad and wide. And he also says he is an avid learner, bilingual writer, multi-dimensional resource person. There's no implication from any of that he would have ties to the level of political connections that would get you a financial document from a presidential campaign. It just doesn't make any sense. So this was published again on the Huffington Post, completely without, completely without any double checking. When Reddit users are able to do fact checking to a greater degree than journalists, you've got to fucking wonder. And yet this was allowed on the front page of Reddit, spreading this misinformation for a 24-hour period. It was also allowed to be on the Huffington Post for an 8-hour period, I think it was, before it was removed. And if you go to the link now, Sam, as well, you can just see connection. You can see that, for correction purposes, they've just taken it down. I mean, they haven't even acknowledged that they published bullshit. And there's no apology. There's no official retraction. This is I don't know what to tell you. I could have found this to be a fake story within minutes. I mean, maybe because I've done investigative work in the past, maybe I'm ahead of the curve. But I like to think that these mainstream publications that lecture us all about what isn't and what is and what isn't fake news, I like to think they could do the bare minimum amount of work. If a guy called Lines Read Lines on fucking Reddit can literally go out and just do your job for you in what appears to be a 40-minute period of the story being up, why can somebody who professes to be a professional writer not do it? Where is the editorial standard? We get back to this comment again, like when the Huffington Post ran that hoax article about how white men shouldn't be allowed to vote. And they were like, we will double down and renew our standards. It's just garbage over and over again. Their model is completely flawed. You can have it. You can't have it both ways. Your publication can carry weight and it can have a very high standard of editorial influence and discretion, or it can be a free-for-all and you can be BuzzFeed. That's it. And the Huffington Post has made its bed. It's chosen to be, let's just throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. You can't trust these publications to ever produce anything of any value when it comes to politics. They don't have the staff. They don't have the credibility. They don't have the sources. They don't have the connections. And more importantly, they don't have the editorial wherewithal to be able to spot absolute fictitious garbage like this. And of course, Reddit, complicit in it every step of the way, because as long as it's anti-Trump, it can go to the front page. They're the rules. They are the rules now of your glorious, new, free, and open forum. Right. So we're definitely at the 2-hour mark now. I did have like a few little bits. I wanted to end on. Might not be time, actually. Because I wanted to get into all that evergreen shit again.
I think that's a wait, mate. That's a whole new fucking kind of whoop ass, mate.
We'll have to do that tomorrow, I think. Oh, well, it's a goddamn shame because, we got some good stuff on that. But, fuck it. We'll have to wrap it up there. So, as always, thanks a lot to everybody who tuned in. Thanks a lot to everybody that's supported and donated and subbed. As always, we really appreciate it. Make sure that when you next have a moment, go and check if you've been unsubscribed from YouTube. I'm not even saying to people now, like, comment, subscribe, although do those things if you don't already, but just check you haven't been unsubscribed. That's the critical thing here. Every time you put a video out, 50 to 100 people get unsubscribed from YouTube. YouTube say it isn't happening. YouTube say you're mentally ill. They say you're suffering from mass psychosis. They say I'm suffering from mass psychosis, that we're all locked into some delusion. But again, I've been messaged 6 times just this weekend from people saying, wow, I've been unsubscribed. People are saying this is the 3rd, 4th time it's happened. YouTube are definitely doing this. So make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Look at that. Jerky Simon down there. Old Jerky Simon, mate, my favourite. Got sub twice now over a 2-year time span. This is real. It's not a conspiracy theory. So, again, make sure it doesn't happen to you. We can eventually get that growth we need so I can get to 100K and tell a story that makes the Ming one pale into comparison. There we have it then. That was the Richard Lewis Show for today. That was the 69th episode. Look after yourselves. Stay away from skunk. Don't paint yourself green. And we'll see you tomorrow.